one skill that's very important to me that I think is important to PMMs. It's just like this whole thought of sustained life cycle marketing, and basically like there's so many PMMs that I have encountered in my lifetime that really focus on the initial launch of a product or a feature. I think the best PMMs think beyond the announcement moment. They build evergreen campaigns, proof points, enablement to keep adoption and engagement growing over time. And that's what I really like to focus on. It's just that continuously life cycle marketing, continuously pushing your products out there, and not just, I'm going to put all my time and resources on the announcement, the launch, and then wipe my hands clean and move on to the next one.
Hello, and welcome back to Product Marketing Life. I'm Sid Kaitan, a Senior Product Marketing Manager at Beekeeper by Lumaps, and I'll be your host as always. Today, I'm joined by Sedall Asante, Product Marketing Director at Aptos Labs. Sedall, can you start by introducing yourself?
Man, happy to be here. Thank you for the introduction and a warm welcome. So I'm a Chicago native, born and raised. I still reside here with my wife and 2 kids. So, I'm a big Chicago sports fan, unfortunately. Bears, Cubs, Bulls, Blackhawks, which we haven't had the best, last 10 years with those teams, but, we'll continue pushing through. But a little bit about me. I'm currently the product marketing director at Aptos Labs, where I oversee go-to-market strategy and execution across all of our products. Before that, I spent about 3.5 years at Coinbase, focused on institutional product marketing. And before Coinbase, I was at JP Morgan for nearly a decade, where I held several different client-facing roles and marketing roles as well.
Very cool. Fun fact, I'm actually a Packers fan. I shouldn't have told you that this early into the episode. But my whole family is Bears fans. But as a 6-year-old, I went to Lambeau. One of my friends' dads, one of my best friend's dads at the time, took me to Lambeau, and I just fell in love. He put me in a jersey. So he kind of brainwashed me.
Oh.
And so I don't have a choice, so maybe better reason to not be as mad at me for that. Had to just throw that in there, I guess. But I'm really curious to hear from you. Yeah, sure. You're like, all right, interview over. Let's just press pause.
Honestly, you made the right choice. You guys have been a better team over the last 30 years or so. So you made the better choice, even though it pains me.
There we go. Exactly. Yeah, not to derail us completely, but I am curious, with your background and really cool kind of story, what is a non-marketing skill or a habit that makes you better at your job, at product marketing, at go-to-market strategy, all of the above?
Yeah. There's a lot of different things that you can kind of have as transferable skills into marketing. But one thing that kind of comes top of mind for me is listening. And it sounds so simple, but it is really like the foundation of everything. Like whether you're speaking to clients or internal partners, listening just helps with me uncover what people care about most, and then translate that into messaging that resonates with that person. And so even as a father, of 2 kids, I really find myself using that same skill. And it's listening to what my kids actually want helps me frame things in a way that gets them to take action that I'm hoping for. And so it's the same idea of marketing. It's just really understanding motivations first and then message second.
Yeah, there's a lot of levels to it. I keep learning that there's better ways to listen. Every time I think I'm decent at it, it's whoa, totally missed half of the sentence you just said somehow.
100%. I think
So I really like that.
is we get into this, this motion or this routine of even though we're listening, we're almost pre-planning what we're going to say next. And so you're not truly listening. And so once you're just really listening and respond to what the person is giving you and message it that way, it's always a lot better.
I like that. Yeah, and with product marketing, especially, that's it's important and hard to do because you're trying to listen to different parts of the business, but also you have a directive and you need to do things in a fast amount of time. So it's an interesting balance and skill set to have, being able to really deeply and truly listen, and then also come back and see things at the higher level.
100%.
I like that. So would love to just dive into your career and journey as a product marketer. I think you have a really interesting background. Can you start, if I understand it correctly, it started in banking at JP Morgan. Can you kind of trace us through that story?
Yeah, yeah. So actually started my first product marketing role, like you said, during my time at JP Morgan. I was an account manager for Fortune 500 companies. And during that time, we had this new innovative product that rolled out to that client segment. And so I really just grew to love messaging and positioning for that specific product. And I worked closely with the product team to really feed the client insights I was hearing that really impacted the product roadmap. And so that experience like naturally led me into product marketing. I then transitioned into a role where I led a small, scrappy team for a number of years before moving to Coinbase, and it was for that product. And then it expanded across different products after a couple of years. But what's interesting about product marketing is that there's really no single entry path, I would say. Like people come into, marketing from different parts of the business because we kind of sit at the intersection of so many teams and there's so many transferable skills. And so you see people come in from client facing roles, maybe a different type of marketing, wherever the case is, a lot of salespeople, come into this role. And so it's just super interesting to hear, what are people path. For me, it came from really liking this one product that we were pushing to our clients and kind of just went from there.
Yeah, exactly. Become an expert at a product, then they need you, right? You're passionate about it. It's kind of the role of product marketing to begin with.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, like, how did you kind of see this role open up and like just raise your hand for it?
Yeah. It was, they needed someone, a marketer for that product. And I just, again, grew to love, really like talking to clients, really understanding what made clients, drive their motivations to do things. And then also just really impacting the roadmap. And like that is super impactful when you are impacting the roadmap or helping that and getting insights to do that. And, once they, had a role open up, I raised my hand and then that just kind of grew from there where, I was marketing for that specific product. I started building a small team under me. And then it just grew to, marketing for multiple products and it just kind of kicked off from there. But I just love that. I think from an account manager standpoint, I always just love the idea of like just speaking with clients and really understanding what troubles they were having, how we can help them. And marketing is similar into that. You're really talking to clients and understanding, what issues that they're having, where the opportunities are for them to run their businesses better. And, really, again, working across sales, product to really make that happen.
Very cool. And then you were at Coinbase. What was that like? Being so this was early days, it sounds like, or
So I went to Coinbase actually in 2021. And so that's when it was kind of like the rocket ship when crypto was super hot. And that's when I made my transition. Um, and crypto has gone up and down since then, but that's when it was on this rocket ship where you had the NFTs coming out and things of that sort. And it was sort of a culture shock, I would say. Just being at a financial institution, there's a lot of red tape you have to go through, a lot of rules and procedures. Um, and going to Coinbase, it was the wild, wild west. It was moving from email and kind of slow communication to now people are just pinging you on Slack and it's super fast and we're changing direction constantly. And so it was definitely an adjustment. But that's why I really enjoy one marketing and enjoy moving to different companies after some time because you get to grow in those instances, right? It's like those instances make you uncomfortable a bit, but you get to grow as well and learn something new. And that's what I see with crypto in general. That's what I see with marketing. Marketing at different companies are always different. It's never the same. Some people just do content marketing. Some people are really indebted in social media. Some people just doing go to market strategy and messaging and positioning. And so, and some we do all of it, right? And some companies you just do every single thing. And so it is always different. And so it was a bit different going to Coinbase. It was a bit easier being still on the institutional side, since I was coming from a traditional, financial institution, more institutional focus. So that was a bit easier, but it was definitely a challenge just how fast and quickly the company moved and just crypto in general.
yeah. And now that experience took you to Aptos Labs. Where does that sit in the kind of whatever super scrappy startup moving fast on a rocket ship to a JP Morgan?
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is like even more scrappier, even faster. This is I've like got my segue with Coinbase, and now it's even faster, and it's a less lean team. You're doing everything. You are moving quickly. You're changing directions. There's a lot of ambiguity, but it's fun. And the reason why I went to Aptos Labs is again that whole thought of the ability to learn. These are two crypto companies per se, but they sit in different places within the ecosystem of crypto. And so now I have to learn how to do marketing for this company and their customers. And when I was at Coinbase, it was more institutional. This is now institutional and retail and, people who are builders and things. So it's a bit different. And then with this company as well, at Aptos Labs, you have to think about building in the open with a community. And we have a community that's huge with us, and you want to be open and honest with them. And so that just adds another layer to the marketing that you do.
Interesting. So who are you selling to? Like, who is the community that you're working with?
Yeah. So we're like in the intersection of a few different ones. So we do have retail users, just like you and I, that we are, marketing to. We have institutional players as well. So you think about BlackRock and things of that sort, and the big players as well. And then we also have, more of these, well traders, who are big time traders and care about, how much money they're earning and things of that sort. Um, we have small, traders as well. And so it just almost hits every type. Now, the interesting thing with crypto is that there's a lot of people that are new to crypto as well. And so you have to keep that in mind. And so that's, one of the things that makes this marketing a little bit interesting is that you're also teaching and doing a lot of education as you're going. And so, even though we're dealing with institutions, there's a lot of education that we have to deal with them. They might have heard of it like, hey, I hear about this crypto. I hear that, you could do certain things with it, but I don't know much about it. And so like teach me as well. And so there's also a teaching component to the marketing that we do.
Yeah, that's a pretty wide, you know, different user groups. How do you, I guess, like with fintech, I haven't spoken to too many product marketers in the fintech space. What are some of those like challenges that are most pressing for you? It sounds like you mentioned education is one piece. You have to educate people coming to you. What else kind of comes to mind that you find kind of a unique problem, especially within product marketing to solve?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, there's really three challenges that come top of mind. One is the education gap, like you said. Many audiences are new to crypto, so you always balancing, clarity with sophistication and making sure it's simple enough to understand, but credible enough for advanced users. The second thing is kind of what I talked about earlier, the speed of innovation. And so the space moves incredibly fast. Products evolve so quickly that messaging can become outdated and stale in weeks and even days if you're not constantly refreshing it. And the last thing is just regulation. And so crypto and fintech both operate under heavy scrutiny. So positioning needs to be both compliant and compelling. And that's a delicate balance between the two. And there's a lot of different crypto regulations that are happening as we speak. We can wake up tomorrow, different regulation can come out, and now you have to change everything in your messaging. And might not be a product that we can offer anymore. And so that's always something that's kind of like the backdrop as well in the crypto and fintech space.
Very interesting. Yeah, all makes sense to me. So now you're at Aptos Labs. I'm curious, yeah, what's that like now? Like, what are some of the lessons you took with you? What are you most focused on in your current role?
Yeah. So I took a lot of lessons with me, and I'm always learning. I wouldn't say that I have everything figured out. I don't think we ever do, but just knowing that, the different tactics that, you can rely on from, what you can do on social media, the things you can do from your owned and operated, accounts and your event strategy and just like meeting customers where they are. I love that. I think a lot of times we try to do this one size fit all approach where, hey, we're always going to send an email, we're always going to do a social post. And like, you have to always think about where your users at and who you're talking to. And so I really learned that mainly at Coinbase is really meeting people where they are and don't make it hard for them to find you. It's something that I really rely on in this role. And what I really focus on again is just the strategy and execution of all of our products. And so we have about 5 or 6 different products that I cover. Currently building a team out to help with that, but right now cover that. And so it's the meshing and positioning for all of those. It is the go-to-market strategies and life cycle marketing of all of those as well. And just continuously growing, our numbers and our metrics of the amount of people or users that are using our products as well. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm also the partnership marketing manager as well, as like a side thing. And I'm actually hiring someone for that as well. But we do a lot of partnerships with people, and so part of my role is aligning on the go to market with those partners on how we come to market, how we make these announcements, and also finding opportunities to continuously doing creative marketing as well. Um, but yeah, it's just it sounds like a lot and it can be a lot, but I think us marketers, we are so used to taking on a lot and sitting at the intersection of a lot of these companies, so that it seems like a lot saying it, but it's what keeps us busy. And so one of the things I'll say is that one to kind of wrap up this point is one skill that's very important to me that I think is important to PMMs. It's just like this whole thought of sustained life cycle marketing. And and basically like there's so many PMMs that I have encountered in my lifetime that really focus on the initial launch of a product or a feature. And we all do it, especially at companies that shit fast. But my view is like, you can't just focus on the launch and then forget about it. I think the best PMMs think beyond the announcement moment. They build evergreen campaigns, proof points, enablement to keep adoption and engagement growing over time. And that's what I really like to focus on. It's just that continuously life cycle marketing, continuously pushing your products out there, and not just, I'm going to put all my time and resources on the announcement, the launch, and then wipe my hands clean and move on to the next one.
I love that. Yeah, and I feel like even like the most of the rituals that are baked in or embedded or like the templates people follow, right? It's like here's one social post, here's one email, all of that. It's like kind of the launch playbook, right? And what I often saw, especially when I started, was like I would do an enablement for launch. And then 2 or 3 months from after that, that's just getting wiped from the sales team's memory because it's
Yeah.
been too long. So I totally agree. There needs to be like a sustained program in place. And I think that is something that like kind of separates, great PMMs from good ones because yeah, launch, I think I get it. Launch is a very exciting moment. It should be leveraged, but it is very much kind of the match, the lights of fire, but then you have to like sustain and keep that momentum going. It's actually just the starting point. So I really like that. You can't just launch and forget. How do you maintain a sustained life cycle or evergreen marketing type of cadence?
Yeah. And so what I typically like to do is in my go-to-market strategies, it goes beyond the launch. And so I like to break down my go-to-market as pre-launch, launch, and post-launch. And so I put a lot of different tactics on pre-launch, building out different content, materials that we need, sales enablement, things of that sort coming up to the launch. Then at launch, obviously you're doing the announcements, you're going out there with the emails. If there's an event strategy, you are doing the announcement at all those different things. And then post launch is having those baked in, client interviews and analytics and sales input. And, over time, like reiterating your messaging and things of that sort. And so, how I frame it is like launches to me are just the starting point. And so, once you start having the client interviews, analytics, and sales input, that will help shape how we evolve the story as well. And so, after launching a product, oftentimes, you start uncovering messaging that is landing that you may not have thought about, or you do think about it and maybe you didn't, lead with it. And so, the key is really just staying flexible enough to refine as the product and the market matures. And so, I like to outline that at the very beginning. And so that we all know, obviously, you should be flexible to change things as it goes, but you should have a plan to continuously doing life cycle marketing out there. And that could be through your own channels. It could be through newsletters, thought leadership content, social media, having events out there. I feel like a lot of times we forget about events. It doesn't even have to be in person. Um, And so, yeah, just using all of the things that you have to your disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. Events are critical, I think, as well. Um, you were talking about like, you have this pre, during, and post kind of framework. How do you balance this like feeling of, hey, we need to launch fast? Because I feel like a lot of companies, have that pressure, whether that's coming from execs, the board, or like even just the PMs involved, um, with this like desire to have this continuous iterative process of at the post launch phase, right? Because, for example, you have, I think you said 6 products and also partnerships. Like, how do you balance all of that and say, hey, we're going to launch fast, but then also we're going to keep iterating and keeping that, I guess, like level of focus and sustained energy for all of these different products?
Yeah. I think it really comes down to really setting the expectations, which are cross-functional partners and leadership early on. Um, and that just obviously goes through a lot of the frameworks that you're building out there in the communication. And so, as I said before, I really frame launches as a starting point. I think we sometimes think of launching as that's the end goal. We've done all this work to kind of get to this launch. We launch, that's it. Like we're good now. And to me, that's the starting point. And you know, we should be treating the go to market not as the finish line, but again, more of the starting point. And so it's just the beginning. And so I think you move fast to capture the momentum early, to get to market as fast as possible, but you have to build in, feedback loops post launch so that you're talking to different clients. You're having these client interviews, these proof points. You're having analytics. Sales is coming back to you with client feedback or even their input. You know what? We've been talking to this different client segment. Really feel like this messaging is hitting harder with them. And then, this will all help shape how we evolve the story. And so, over time, you start uncovering new messaging, and just keep yourself really flexible there. And so it just really starts off with early alignment and then just having that out there, people know what to expect. And so when you are starting to add new things that people didn't realize we are going to do, it's hard to get buy-in. It's hard to get really the company to think in a way of like, this is an ongoing, go to market per se. If you don't have that early alignment and you're like asking them like, hey, what is this client interviews? Let's do some client interviews. They're like, what? Like, why are we doing all these different things? And you probably lose momentum that way. So as long as you have early alignment, you should be good to go.
I like that a lot. Yeah. Like, when I don't have a nice project management tool, or like, for example, we're dealing with the merge right now, I always resort back to the good old Gantt chart where I can put in like as many things as I want and say, hey, look, these are the activities we got lined up for the year and what we got planned. And once you have that early alignment, like you said, people kind of become aware that, hey, this person has thought after November 1st, like no matter what we launch that date, there's a lot more runway and roadmap to be had. Align that to what's happening in the product. And then I think everyone kind of all of a sudden starts to see that same picture that is, it's not just a one-time launch. Like we have to keep going and here are all the different, activations we can go with. So I really like that. Kind of related, is there a toolkit you follow maybe that fits well in the fintech or crypto space, whether that's like from a channel standpoint, a content standpoint, a format standpoint, a campaign standpoint? Yeah, is there something that's worked for you, or in general, is there a toolkit you like to go to?
Yeah, I think a few staples always work, and there's a few that come to mind. So one would be case studies. I think in fintech and just in general, trust is everything. And so customers love to see how their peers gain success in using your product. And so case studies would be super huge. It's super huge in fintech. I think educational content, like I said, a lot of times explainers, blogs, webinars. Again, the space moves fast and users need clarity a lot of the time, especially if some type of regulation or anything came out, you should be out there providing education on that, your view on it. And then there's also like your own channels, like emails, newsletters, social media. We talked about events. And so you always need to find ways to show your thought leadership and demystify a lot of the topics, but also connect with your audience and community. I think once people can really connect with you in events and see people talking from your company or see you, they're a lot more inclined to be more attached to that. And it's really just finding the balance between this professional authority, but more of just like grassroots community energy as well, and humanizing the brand.
Yeah. If you take this all together and look back at your career, what would you like whisper to a younger version of yourself? You know, maybe you just started at JP Morgan or like it was before even like what advice would you give them looking at your career where it's at today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's more, I think I would say is about being comfortable taking more risk earlier. Um, Earlier in my career, I was really just focused on stability and structure and didn't really want to rock the boat. You know, you're a banker, you are then an account manager, you know, just kind of just going up the ladder the way they've kind of put it out there for you. But what I've really seen is like my biggest growth moments came from stepping into uncertainty. And so, you know, whether that was moving from client facing roles into marketing, where, you know, I really enjoyed, you know, doing the things that the tactics of marketing, but I didn't know much about marketing at that point. And so that was a little bit of uncertainty. Leaving, you know, traditional banking. I was, you know, everyone always thought of me, my family, my friends as, you know, the guy who works at JP Morgan. I was the bank. And so moving into crypto is kind of like, you know, some people still today who don't understand crypto are like, what the heck? You know, and so that was something interesting and some uncertainty there. Like, you know, there's times where we're not sure if there's going to be some regulation that takes out crypto all of a sudden or wherever the case is or changes the industry in general. But I've seen my biggest growth there as well. And then last thing I was to say is, you know, that can just even be on taking new responsibilities in your current role. And so what I would just tell myself is just to take more risk earlier. Obviously, take calculated risk, but that's where I've seen my most growth moments, and where I've seen the biggest steps in my career when I've took more growth, I've learned more, gotten more opportunities, things of that sort.
Yeah. Especially today, it's like, you know, taking some risks is the best, most risk-proof strategy there is, right? You have to. And I guess to tie it all together, it's, you know, it's a risk-reward trade-off. You have to take some risks, right? And perfect way to wrap a episode with a fintech product marketer. I love it. So Sedall, something I like to ask all our guests as we wrap is a fun question, which is product marketing is blank. Can you fill in the blank?
Yeah, wow. I would say product marketing is is the bridge between great products and real world adoption. And the reason why I say that is because we are all building great products out there. There are a number of great products. There's a number of great products we don't even know about. But the reason why we don't know about it is because good marketing. And there needs to be good marketing to really sell and show why this is a great product. In the absence of it, you're not going to get real world adoption. You need great marketing to bridge the gap from great products to adoption. And so that's what I would say.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. How can people learn more about you, Sedall, if they want to follow your journey, your insights?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter at Sedall Asante. On both of those, I'm always happy to connect with other marketers or folks interested in fintech or crypto, or anyone who just wants to chat. So definitely reach out.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you once again.
I appreciate it, Sid. Thank you so much.
For everyone still tuned in, thanks so much for listening. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please help us spread the word to other product marketers. Thanks again and have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are.